and welcome back to my channel. So right now I'm in the Royal Theatre of our ship, which usually holds thousands of guests on board, but literally there's nobody here right now. I have the whole place to myself, so here I am ready to do a Q&A of everything you guys have been asking me for. I've already written down all the questions that I've had you guys send me on Instagram. Hopefully after this video you guys get to know my job a little bit better and also how it is like living on a ship in the middle of the oceans. Okay, so the question one says, favorite place on the ship? This is such a hard question because I literally have so many favorite spots, and especially because this is my first contract, first time on a ship, first time with Royal Caribbean. It's a lot of my first, so of course everything is very new, exciting for me. But if I had to choose a spot, I would say the helipad because I'm not familiar with how other ships are, but in Symphony of the Seas, the helipad is only dedicated to crew and crew only, so guests have no access towards it. For us, it is on deck 6, and a lot of guests that hang out in the pool area in deck 15, 16, they're able to look down at the ship and they can literally see us having fun. And we always have guests coming up to us and asking like, hey, how do we access the helipad? And it's such a nice feeling to tell them like, oh, it's for crew only. So yeah, definitely I would say that is one of my favorite spots. Question number 2, rude guest interactions. So when I first got this question on Instagram, I literally posted in my story and said I could make a whole video of just guest interactions. Honestly, I can't pinpoint one particular incident, but it's usually us trying to explain to them about the company policy, and for some reason they think we're personally responsible for making the company policy, and we're like, no ma'am, no sir, that is just a standard procedure. So it's usually just a lot of misunderstanding, and then they get really upset and they call our managers out. But that is usually how rude interactions come to be. Oh, by the way, that leads me to question number 3. Which department do you work for? I didn't explain. If you're watching my video for the first time, hi, my name is Lily and I work in guest services. So in guest services, you're basically dealing with guest inquiries, you're helping them with their issues, their problems, you're providing them services, information. So that is kind of what I do on the ship. That is just the gist of it, but of course we do so much. Question number 4. Most surprising things that you have learned about your job. I think the most surprising thing is realizing just how little free time we have. I mean, I knew working on the ship was going to be super tiring, and of course you're not here to just have fun, you're here at the end of the day to work, to make money, to save up money. But I guess I underestimated just how much of free time we will have. In terms of even when you have your breaks, you will be so tired that you'll end up sleeping. So even when you have time to go out into the ports, you might not actually utilize all that time to go out. How did you know you wanted to work on a cruise ship, and what was the process like? Okay, so I've explained the process in detail already in one of my first ever seafarer related video. So let me recap for you guys. The hiring process is also very different for each nationality. But for Chinese national, we have to go through an agency rather than applying directly with Royal. So because we have such a big population and the agency need to filter out the large group of applicants to a smaller group that they can actually provide to Royal. So I went through an agency. They basically tested my English abilities, my working experience, and I told them that I used to have a hospitality background as well. Once you pass through that, then they ask you which position on ship you want to apply for, and you can either choose to apply for one or multiple. That is completely dependent on you. I originally actually went for retail, but they took way too long to get back to me. So that's when I showed an interest towards guest services, and also my background was in guest services and guest relations. So I feel like that's kind of more what I was drawn to anyways. Once you pass through the interview, that's when you have to go through your seafarer training process. You have to get your STCW, which is certificate you need in order to work on a shipboard. And then we also had to get our medicals done. There was a lot of medicals to get done. After that, basically you wait for your letter of employment, you do a whole background check. So yeah, just the whole process. I applied for guest services back in May and I got a response in the end of August. I came to board the ship at the end of August, so that's 3 months time. But I originally applied to the agency back in December for the retail position, so that is to give you guys an idea of the timeline. How did I know I wanted to work on a ship? Well, you guys know that I was working in the Maldives for a good amount of time, and I really like the hospitality line of work because I love talking to people. And I know that people say that once you work in hospitality you actually start hating people, but for now I'm still okay. And I've always loved socializing, getting to know new people, their stories. So I know that hospitality is definitely something I was interested in, and working on a ship was just such an exciting thing for me that I can't comprehend there's actually people working in the middle of the oceans. So it's really crazy concept, because the earth is made up of like what, 2/3 of the ocean. So we're so familiar with jobs in 1/3 of the world that we don't know what the 2/3 of the world is actually like. And I just think it'll be like a really crazy experience. It'll also be a good learning opportunity, and it's also one of the best ways to save money, because I have so many dreams and goals that I want to accomplish, and a lot of them can't be done without money. So of course, I was like, I want to apply for working on the ship. It was something I thought about since I was 19, but of course you had to reach the age of 21 in order to apply. So yeah, I waited 2 years. I was working different jobs, traveling to different places just to fit the age mark, and once I did, that's when I reached out to the agency, and here I am. Next is, how is the internet connection on Royal? Is it fast, good, and cheap? That is such a great question, because that's another thing what people don't realize is that we as crew members, we don't get free internet. We have to pay a lot of money for internet. So we have different packages for the internet depending on, of course, like how much internet you actually want to use, because I know some people, they just like make 1-2 hour call to their family a week just to catch up. Whereas me, I need my social media. I need to like check my Instagram, my TikToks. I need to do all that. So the package that I usually go for is $6 for 120 minutes of internet over a span of 3 days. There's packages like for like, I don't know, 900 minutes, 1,800 minutes that could go up to like $90. It's really expensive. So yeah, as much as we can save up on ship, we also spend a lot of money. So yeah, that's the little thing. Moving on, have you ever felt envious of guests enjoying while I'm working? That is a beautiful question. So I guess I felt that for the first time during Halloween, because Halloween, everybody on the ship was dressed up, and I was so sad that I didn't get to take any pictures of actually some of the coolest costumes, because there was so many creative costumes. Like, Americans go crazy for Halloween, and it was so nice to be in America for the first time, seeing how Halloween is celebrated, you know, with Americans. So that was really exciting. And of course, we were at the desk, and first of all, like, crew members aren't socializing with the guests, and secondly, guest services are one of the only departments where we have to still, you know, remain professional and in our uniforms, not as opposed to like activity staff that could actually be organizing the events for the guests, and they also get to dress up in the makeup and costumes. So yeah, of course, I felt really left out. I was like, oh no, everybody's in their makeup and costumes, and I'm just like in my uniform, standing at the desk, looking at them do trick-or-treating. So yeah, I did feel very envious, but the good news is that literally in 3 hours we have our crew Halloween party, and the promenade is already decorated in the decoration. So I feel like even though it's first week of November, I still feel like we're in Halloween spirit, you know? It's still October 31st for me right now. Next question. Does it get boring being in the ship always? Honestly, as somebody who gets bored easily, no. I mean, I've only been here for a little more than 2 months, but I feel like no 2 days on the ship is exactly the same. Like, every single day, something or the other happens. There are some dramas, there are some events, there are some activities, there's some crazy guests that bring a little bit of spice into our lives. So there is always something that you can look forward to. Or I don't know, that could just be me as well, because I try to give myself something to look forward to every day, whether it is like the crew parties, whether it is filming a TikTok, whether it is like doing my makeup and looking cute just for myself, just to make me feel like I have something to do in a day. I try to have something to look forward to every time. So yeah, as of now, I don't feel completely bored. And I guess it also helps that I have lots of friends on board, so it's nice to be with people, I guess. Do you get seasick? No. I also think people don't realize that the ship is actually so massive that you almost never feel that it's moving. So yeah, on a daily basis, we do not feel the ship is moving. I know that was one of the biggest concerns people asked me, and so, I mean, my family, my friends, everyone was asking me like, oh my god, you're gonna work on a ship. Do you think you'll get seasick? And yeah, so it's good to know that even if you are somebody who gets sick easily in like motion sickness, you will actually not be feeling any of that on a ship. There was only like 2 days within the 2 months that I was here that I actually felt the ship rocking to a point where I needed to take some seasick pills. But yeah, even then I just felt sleepy, took a nap. When I woke up, I felt good again. So really, it's not that big of a deal. How many crew members are on this ship? Okay, so we are one of like the biggest sizing in the fleet. So for our ship, there is a total of 2,200 staffs on board, and then there's 6,500 guests on board. But we don't even talk about that. So yeah, 2,200 staffs, and it's kind of crazy that literally we have somebody from almost every single nationality. I think there's about 65 to 70 nationalities on board, with Indians, Filipinos, and Indonesians being the largest groups. I don't see a lot of fellow Chinese across the ship, but I do know there's at least one in every department just to assist the Chinese guests on board. How long are you gonna be on the boat? Well, the contract for every single position on board is also very different. But for guest services, our contract is supposed to be 5 months. Of course, upon request, we could extend it, we could shorten it. If there's family emergencies, of course, you can be accommodated to leave at an earlier time. But I came on board on August 20 something, and I'm supposed to be signing off in January 19. Although I'm not sure if I want to go that early. Like, that's still in the thought process. I think I might extend by a month or so, just because January is super cold in China and I don't want to go back at a super cold time. But also, if I go back in January, I'll get to celebrate Chinese New Year. So that's that whole debate going on in my head. But yeah, for us it's 5 months. Some people have it up to like 9 months, so it really depends on your position. Lastly, weirdest interactions with guests. I don't know if this is weird, but I just had like a guest recently. Like, he was super chill and super nice, and I guess if it was anybody else, I would have felt really uncomfortable. But this guy was generally just trying to be a jokester, so he would come to the desk every day and just tell me a sex joke for a whole voyage. And then like one day he just went out into the port and he was like, I'm gonna get you something, and he came back to the desk and he got me, I'm gonna insert the picture right now, but he got me a juice that said pussy on it. So that was kind of weird, but also really funny, because the amount of jokes my colleagues and I got to make with that drink, that was it made our day. The jokes kept coming and coming and coming. It was like a funny interaction almost. But yeah, like, his reasoning for that was not to be creepy in any sort of way. He was like, he understands how hard we at guest services work, so he's like, if I'm able to just make somebody laugh for a moment and just be their stupid silly self rather than the constant complaints you guys hear, maybe that could make my day too. And honestly, the way he said it was kind of beautiful. So for somebody making a sex joke, that was actually very poetic. That is about all the main questions I got from you guys. I need to get ready now to change myself into a Halloween costume look. Thank you all so much again for sending your questions. I had such a fun time, like, just reading everything and also just sharing my thoughts, my experiences, and to know that you guys are actually interested in knowing what I'm up to. But yeah, leave me more questions in the comments. Until then, I'll see you guys on the flip side.